The phone rang in my hospital room on March 15th, 2024. My 80th birthday. I was lying in a Chicago bed at Northwestern Memorial. Hip shattered after slipping on ice outside my building. The nurse had just dimmed the lights when the call came through. It was Evelyn, my daughter. Her voice was bright, almost cheerful, like she was delivering good news.
Dad.
I sold the penthouse. Cash offer. Closed fast. You should be grateful. We got you out before things got worse. Grateful. The word hung there while painkillers dulled everything except the sharp sting in my chest. 45 years swinging hammers. Supervising crews on projects that helped shape the city. And to Evelyn, I was just her aging construction worker father who'd somehow scraped together one lucky property. She had no clue what she'd just done. Or maybe she did. And that was worse. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I simply said, "Okay, honey," and ended the call. Then I made one quiet phone call of my own. The kind that would shift the ground beneath her feet. If you're listening to this, you've probably felt small because of the work you do or the way people see you. This is what happens when the person you underestimate turns out to be the one who's been carrying the weight all along. Let me take you back properly. I'd spent the last 2 years letting Evelyn manage my finances. Every month, she'd come to my kitchen table, the same scarred oak where I'd once helped her with algebra, and spread out papers like I was a child who couldn't be trusted with numbers.
Dad.
Your pension and Social Security barely cover basics. Thank goodness for the penthouse equity. But we have to be realistic. She'd set up my accounts so she could monitor every deposit. Construction pension, $1,200 a month. Social Security, $1,800. She knew every cent because she insisted on it. What she didn't know was that Harlan Whitaker on the pension forms and H. Whitaker of Whitaker Properties LLC were two different men in her mind. Why would they connect? Construction guys swing hammers. They don't own empires. Marcus, her husband, made sure I knew my place. He'd introduce me at family dinners as Evelyn's dad, with that smirk that said everything about what he thought of a man who still had calluses. Last Thanksgiving, I was describing the foundation challenges on the Lakeshore Tower, 60-foot pilings into tricky lakefront soil. 3 months of adjustments because the initial surveys missed groundwater. Marcus laughed out loud. Harlan, you hammered nails, right? Leave the engineering talk to the real experts. Evelyn just smiled. Didn't correct him. Didn't defend the man who'd paid for her private schools, her college, her wedding that rivaled small-town budgets. That smile told me everything. I had a choice. Keep playing the helpless old man she seemed to need, or let her see who I'd really been all these years. Marcus's comments grew sharper after that. He'd explained basic budgeting like I'd never balanced a checkbook. Harlan, you can't hide cash in a coffee can anymore. Modern finance doesn't work that way. Modern finance. This from a man drowning in underground poker debts. My old crew kept me informed. Bookies, loan sharks, the backroom games downtown. They saw Marcus losing money he didn't have. Night after night. Evelyn thought he worked late at his consulting firm. She had no idea he was working late to lose her future. The breaking point came in early March. Evelyn suggested assisted living.
Dad.
That penthouse is too much. All those stairs. The maintenance fees, $1,800 a month. You can't swing that on fixed income. $1,800. I smiled inside. The actual monthly maintenance on the Lakeshore Tower was closer to $18,000. I knew because I reviewed the reports every month. Had for 25 years. But I just nodded. I'll think about it. That's the danger of being underestimated. People say things they never would to someone they respected. They make plans around you like your furniture. They forget quiet doesn't mean clueless. If I stayed silent, I'd lose more than money. My dignity at every gathering. My relationship with Evelyn turning purely transactional, visits only when she needed a signature. My life's work reduced to Dad got lucky once. And my legacy, Whitaker Properties, was built for her security, for her kids' future. Instead, Marcus's gambling was spiraling. February alone, nearly 70,000 lost. Credit cards she didn't know about. Threatening texts I'd seen when she left her phone on my counter. Payment overdue. We know where you live. The penthouse sale wasn't about my care. It was about Marcus needing cash fast, before the kind of people who break legs came calling. Evelyn had power of attorney for personal matters, medical decisions, basic banking. But it didn't touch business entities. Harlan Whitaker, the retiree, was legally separate from H. Whitaker, the owner. That morning after her assisted living suggestion, I sat at my kitchen table overlooking the Chicago skyline she thought was my only asset and listed what silence would cost.
Dignity.
Relationship. Legacy. Most of all, Evelyn would never learn to stand on her own. My empire would become an ATM for a gambling addiction, and she'd end up broke without ever understanding the difference between earned wealth and handouts. I chose to stop pretending. It was time my daughter met the man who'd been providing for her all along. 3 days later, Evelyn arrived with her folder and that careful smile she used for tough talks.
Dad.
Good news. The penthouse sold for $3.8 million cash. We can close next week. I found a nice senior community in Evanston, everything managed for you. I set down my coffee. Sold. She spread the papers. Purchase agreement. Transfer docs with my notarized signature from the power of attorney forms.
Dad.
You can't handle the stairs anymore. The fees. I built this building, I said quietly. She blinked. You worked on it.
Dad.
Hammered nails. That's different. I walked to the window. 42 stories below. Traffic moved through streets my crews had helped pave. Buildings I developed reached for the sky. Tell me about the foundation work on Lakeshore Tower.
Dad.
I don't know construction details. That's not important now. Your care is. 60-foot pilings. Unstable soil. Hit water at 30 feet. Redid the whole system. I was the foreman. My crew. My responsibility. She closed the folder. Okay. You worked on the foundation. Proud of that. But it was decades ago. Focus on practical matters. Who's buying it? A development company. Converting to commercial. Marcus handled the details. Where's the money for Evanston coming from? We're managing the finances. The sale covers your new place and gives a cushion. How much cushion? You don't need to worry about numbers. We're handling it. Handling everything. The phrase landed heavy. Evelyn, do you respect me? She looked surprised. Of course.
Dad.
You're my father. You worked hard. Gave me a good life. Do you respect my judgment? My experience? My ability to decide for myself?
This isn't about respect.
It's about being realistic. You're 80. You can't maintain this. What if the expenses aren't a problem? We've reviewed your finances. I know what comes in. What if there are things you don't know? Concern flashed across her face.
Dad.
Are you hiding money? That's why we need professional management. Seniors sometimes get secretive when memory slips. My memory is fine. I remember every building I've worked on, every permit signed, every deed with my name.
She stared.
You only own the penthouse. I pulled the property tax statement from the drawer. Lakeshore Tower. Owner, H. Whitaker. She read it twice. This says you own the building. I do. That's impossible. You're a construction worker. You worked for other people. What if that's not the whole story?
Her voice shrank. Dad.
This has to be a mistake. You can't own a tower like this. Why not? Because.
You never told me.
Would you have believed me? She looked up, uncertainty in her eyes, my daughter seeing gaps in the story she'd written about me. If this is real, why hide it? Would it have changed how you treated me? Would Marcus have explained less? Would you have asked my opinion instead of deciding? She was quiet. The answer was written on her face. That afternoon she left with the statement to verify with Marcus. I spent the day doing what I'd done for 25 years, managing properties. People think foremen just swing hammers. They don't see the business, managing crews, negotiating suppliers, coordinating architects, solving problems worth millions. After 40 years of that, buying buildings was the next scale up. My first purchase in 1999, a distressed apartment block in Evanston with foundation cracks. Bought cheap. Fixed it myself with trusted crews. Rented steadily as the neighborhood rose. Sold for triple. That's how empires grow, one smart decision after another. Every Tuesday, I met Nancy Chun at the diner on Michigan Avenue. She'd been my property manager 14 years, architect turned operator. Sharp on both construction and numbers. To Evelyn, she was just the nice accountant helping with taxes. But Nancy knew Whitaker properties down to the penny. 15 properties, $28 million assessed value. On March 19th, our meeting had new gravity. She signed using personal power of attorney, I explained. Doesn't touch the LLC. Nancy smiled. This will be educational. She pulled the portfolio. Lakeshore Tower. Evanston Complex. North Side offices. Lincoln Park residences. She really has no idea. People see what they expect. Construction workers don't own towers. What's the plan? Building meeting. Sunday. New ownership policies. Residents who sell units without owner notification face immediate lease review. You're evicting your daughter? I'm teaching her actions have consequences. Blue collar doesn't mean powerless. Elton Harlan, are you sure? Once you reveal, you can't go back. I thought of Evelyn patting my hand like a child. Marcus's lectures. 15 years of monthly transfers, $7,500 from Whitaker Properties to her account, disguised as pension contributions.
Designer bags.
Private schools for the kids. BMW lease. Charity events where she played benefactor, all funded by the broke father she was rescuing. Total, $1.4 million. If I continued, she'd never stand alone. The empire would feed Marcus's addiction. That wasn't the legacy I wanted. All right, Nancy said. Sunday it is. Friday night. Evelyn arranged a farewell dinner at a stylish restaurant on the Magnificent Mile. Her treat, she said, last chance for luxury before something manageable. The guest list, Marcus. Her friend Lauren from the charity board. Lauren's husband, who ran wealth management, and neighbors from the penthouse floor. I wore my best charcoal suit, still fitting perfectly after 15 years. Evelyn had picked a corner table with skyline views, every visible building tied to contracts I'd bid or supervised. But to them, I was the old man who'd lucked into one property.
Dad.
I'm glad we could do this, Evelyn said as we settled. Important to mark transitions. Transitions, I echoed. Marcus raised his glass. To Harlan. A lifetime of hard work finally paying off. Hands shook slightly as he drank, stress from debts about to be solved. Lauren's husband leaned in. Smart move converting to liquid assets. Real estate management is complicated at your age. Let professionals handle it. My portfolio? I nearly smiled. At your age. Simplicity matters, the wife added. My father sold his house. Moved to senior living. Such relief for us. No more worrying about falls or maintenance.
Worrying, I said. Exactly.
Once he was settled, we could breathe. It's wise to recognize limitations, the neighbor said. Many seniors struggle with self-awareness. Evelyn beamed like I'd passed a test. The conversation flowed around me, my incompetence discussed warmly by people solving my problems. Marcus grew animated. Harlan, you should be proud. This benefits everyone. Evelyn won't worry anymore. You'll get proper care. Proper care, I repeated. No more confusing financial details. Confusing details. I turned to Marcus. Tell me about modern finance. He straightened, delighted. Diversification. Liquid assets. Professional oversight. Real estate is too volatile for individuals, market swings, repairs, tenants. Full-time job. What instead? Index funds. Low cost. Managed returns. Perfect for your situation. Limited financial literacy? I asked. Evelyn nodded. Paul knows these things. Let experts handle the complicated stuff. Complicated stuff, I echoed. The wife patted my arm. No shame admitting when something's beyond your expertise. We all have strengths. What are mine? You worked hard. Raised a wonderful daughter. Provided for your family. Past tense. Everything past tense. Marcus leaned back. Your generation didn't have our financial education. You did your best with limited knowledge. Today's markets need sophisticated understanding, global economics, complex instruments. Risk assessment, I said. Crucial. At your age. Avoid high risk. Stable returns. Nothing like real estate. Everyone nodded like he was delivering wisdom. The wife added, You'll never worry about any of this again. Just enjoy retirement. Evelyn squeezed my hand. No more stress about money or business. I looked around at 6 people explaining why 45 years of my labor was beyond me. 6 people unaware they sat in a restaurant tied to my holdings, viewing a skyline I'd helped create. You're absolutely right, I said finally. Sunday afternoon. The Lakeshore Tower community room was packed, 237 residents. Evelyn and Marcus sat front row. Curious. The notice had been clear, mandatory meeting on new ownership policies. Nancy started. I'm Nancy Chen, property manager for Whitaker Properties, LLC. Owner of this building and 14 others. Murmurs. Evelyn whispered to Marcus. Last week. A penthouse unit sold without proper notification to ownership. Evelyn stiffened. The sale violated covenants and was motivated by gambling debts over $200,000. Gasps. Evelyn's face drained. Building management has consulted our principal owner. Nancy gestured to the back. Meet H. Whitaker, founder of Whitaker Properties. I walked forward. Eyes followed. The friendly neighbor who held elevators. Carried groceries. Evelyn looked like she'd seen a ghost. Good afternoon. Most of you know me as Harlan from Unit 4217. Some know I worked construction. What you may not know, I was foreman when Lakeshore broke ground in 1982. Supervised foundation. Solved problems. Bought the building in 1985. Been your landlord since. Along with properties you might recognize. Slides showed the portfolio. Total value, $28 million. Now. Why stay quiet? I liked being just Harlan. Helping neighbors. But assumptions were made about what a construction worker can understand. Sometimes people sell your property assuming you're too old or simple to manage your affairs. Last week, my daughter Evelyn sold Penthouse Unit 4237 to cover her husband's gambling debts. Used power of attorney meant for medical emergencies. She thought she sold my only asset. She sold her home. Not mine. The deed appeared on screen. Purchase 1985. Owner H. Whitaker. Evelyn, I said directly. You've been my tenant since 2009. The $7,500 monthly transfer? Rent money for this unit. Marcus tried to stand. Security stepped closer. The The sale violated your lease. Section 12. Paragraph 3. No selling without owner permission. Here's your eviction notice. 30 days. Effective immediately. The room was silent except for air conditioning. I handed the mic back. For everyone else, leases remain. Rents unchanged. I'm still happy to help with groceries when these old bones allow. Nervous chuckles. For Evelyn and Marcus. This is a learning opportunity. You wanted $3.8 million? Use it to find new housing. As I walked out, Evelyn called.
Dad. Wait.
Why? I turned. Would it have changed how you treated me? The jokes about your construction worker father? Marcus explaining less? Asking my opinion instead of deciding for me? Would you have loved me for who I was? Or what I owned?
She cried.
The room stayed quiet. That's why I never told you. I wanted to know who my daughter was when she thought I had nothing but love to give. I took the elevator up. My phone rang constantly after. Nancy had paperwork ready: eviction, lease termination, bank closures. By evening, their world shifted. First, eviction, 30 days to vacate 4237. Second, immediate end to all Whitaker support. Monthly transfers stopped. Hidden credit cards canceled. Household expenses I'd covered through creative accounting ended. Third, notice to buyers. Seller lacked authority. Sale could proceed, but buyer purchased from an evicted tenant in violation. Fourth, Marcus's firm got an anonymous tip about his gambling. HR reviewed. Financial risks inconsistent with handling client money. Terminated for cause. Minimal severance. Lost benefits and company car. Evelyn called 47 times Sunday night to Monday. I answered the 48th.
Dad.
Please. We need to talk. We are. In person. There must be a way. Pack and find new housing. I'm your daughter.
Yes.
And you sold my property without permission to cover gambling debts. Silence. The sad part? If you'd asked for help with Marcus's problem, I'd have given the money. No questions. But you managed the helpless old man instead. There's a difference between helping and controlling. I thought I was helping you.
No. You thought you were managing me.
Monday afternoon. Marcus came alone. Harlan. Man to man. I let him in. Offered coffee. We sat at the kitchen table. This has gone too far. Evelyn is devastated. She loves you. Trying to help. She loves the father she imagined, needing her management because he's too old and simple. Not the father who built a $28 million empire while she learned to read. The gambling. That's my problem. I'm establishing boundaries. For 2 years you've explained basics like I was a child. Mocked my work. Treated my accomplishments like accidents. Evelyn enabled it, smiling. Nodding. Supporting you at the expense of respecting me. I was wrong. I see that now. But Evelyn doesn't deserve this. She enabled it. Apologies are nice. Changed behavior is better. Learn respect for me, each other. Consequences. Marcus left quietly. By Wednesday, Evelyn's world collapsed. The $7,500 monthly she'd taken for granted was rent money from Whitaker Properties. Private school tuition for Marcus's kids from a prior marriage channeled through her as her generosity. BMW lease via corporate program. Charity contributions she'd redistributed as from Marcus's job. Cleaning service. Lawn care. Vacations. Gala clothes, all subsidized by the father she'd rescued. Total support over 15 years. Nearly $1.8 million. Thursday her bank called. The monthly deposit pattern changed. No $8,000 transfer. It's been from Whitaker Properties, LLC. She called Nancy. I need my father. Mr. Whitaker is in meetings. I can schedule next week. Nancy. This is his daughter. Understood. But you're a tenant in lease violation. All communications through property management. She realized she wasn't speaking to the friendly accountant anymore, but the manager of a $28 million empire answering to H. Whitaker. Marcus's termination hit Friday. Charity board friends distanced, contribution patterns questioned. Board positions requested resignations. Country club membership canceled, quietly subsidized through corporate accounts. Lunch group stopped responding. Social tier shifted. The sale created a $430,000 capital gains tax bill due next April. Money already spent on debts. Immediate eviction. Loss support. Unemployment. Tax obligations. Social isolation. Legal fees. The deepest wound wasn't financial. Everything she'd believed was their success was illusion from my generosity. Her independence was unrecognized dependence. Her understanding of her father was wrong. 3 weeks later, she rang the doorbell. Key no longer worked. She looked smaller, eyes carrying new truths.
Dad, can we talk?
I made coffee. Same table where she'd once explained my limitations. I owe you an apology for treating you like you were incompetent, assuming I knew better about your life, enabling Marcus to disrespect you, selling without asking. Thank you. Apologies matter, but they're the start. Start of what? Seeing me as I am, not as you need me to be. We talked 3 hours, real talk about fears, dreams, Marcus's struggles, building a future on truth. How do I fix this? Respect my judgment. Ask my opinion. Treat me like the adult who's made good decisions for 80 years. She cried softly. Can we start over? We start here. As we are. Who are you? Dad? Really? Harlan Whitaker. Spent 45 years building Chicago. Proud of my work. My empire. My daughter. Tired of pretending to be less. And who am I? Evelyn Whitaker Ross. Strong enough to stand alone. Smart enough to learn from mistakes. My daughter. Always, even after everything. Love has no conditions. But respect must be earned by both. She hugged me like she hadn't in years. I love you, Dad. I love you too. Evelyn moved to a modest 2-bedroom in Evanston. Marcus joined Gamblers Anonymous. They're rebuilding their marriage and relationship with reality. I'm still Harlan, helping neighbors, talking sports. But now Evelyn knows who Harlan really is. If you've ever been underestimated because of the work you do, you understand. Sometimes the quietest person built the room you're sitting in. The question lingers. What would you have done in my place? Respect isn't given. It's earned through truth. Even when it hurts.